Back again once more. Been working recently, so I haven't done much in the way of videos. But I've been doing a lot of reading and a lot of thinking, which is not always it's not always a great thing. But really, sort of been once again really inspired. So here I am, sort of putting that into context, particularly for myself, but for anybody who watches these videos as well. Um, a while ago, I suppose a couple of years now a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to work in the Indian Ocean. I was working on ships. I was doing ship security, anti-piracy, basically, and what that involved, really, in sort of long story short, was that you would get on a ship. You would help them through a particular high risk area, and then you would get off at the other end. Now, the getting on and the getting off of these super tankers wasn't as though you'd expect with a cruise. You wouldn't walk along the gangplank from the docks to onto the ship. We used to get a pilot boat out, and the pilot boat was very small, very wobbly usually, and the ship was enormous. I mean, we are talking skyscraper feeling when you're alongside them. So you're bobbing about on the boat there, and you would basically get on the ship, and you would go to your destination, whatever that was. Conditions on board might have been poor, maybe. So after maybe a week or two on rations, then you would get to a particular destination, and the pilot boat would then come out and come and pick you up and take you back to shore. And sometimes it was a lovely beach, a lovely area of the world, for example, Sri Lanka. And I really look forward to seeing this pilot boat coming out. And for the previous 2 weeks or so, we got into a routine, and we basically, we were doing our job on board, but really thinking, oh, you know what, I'd really like to get on the beach and relax for a few days before we pick up the next ship. So on the horizon, you'd see land, and then you would eventually see this tiny, tiny little pilot boat come out to you to pick you and the team up and take you ashore to these gorgeous places, these beaches or hotels or whatever, or villas. And the reason I'm talking about this is because essentially this is the kind of metaphor I want to use in this video about comfort zones. Now, what happens is the little pilot boat comes alongside this vast container ship or oil tanker, and the boat would be here, or the ship, sorry, and along would come this little tiny sort of pilot boat, and it would be doing this. It would be going up, and it'd be going down, and up and down. And you come over the side on a rope ladder with a large pack on your back, sometimes. And you would come down the ladder. You come down the rope ladder, and the pilot boat would come up, and it would go down, and it would come, and you would essentially have to time your step across onto this little tiny pilot boat. Sometimes late at night, in the dark, and sometimes during a very rough seas if it was the southwest monsoon. Anyway, you would develop what we would laughingly call disco leg. So your leg would be every so often the ship would come up, would rise up to meet you, and you would have to put your leg out, and you might miss, and you'd step up, you'd try to be stepping across all the time. So your disco leg would be going mad trying to get across onto this pilot boat and away from the ship and off to the beach. The metaphor essentially was that there you were in your comfort zone, this vast container vessel plowing through the ocean. You're coming to the end of your journey, and you think, I want to get off onto the beach. I want to relax. I want to be, have a few days rest. I want to change from the norm or this comfort zone that I'm in at the moment. You know, these robust containers, quite vulnerable, generally speaking, a big old ship. And in order to get to your beach, you have to make this little jump, this leap of faith, if you like. You know, your disco leg would be going mad, but essentially you would get onto this little pilot boat and away you go. So this is what I'm thinking about in terms of comfort zones. You know, the title for this video is Comfort Zones and Mobile Phones. We seem to basically spend a lot of our time. I sat in a coffee shop only this morning, looking around to a sea of hair, basically, because all I could see was the top of people's heads and this waving or this swiping going on. When really, you know, we're not interacting with the. I know there's lots of people online saying, you know, we should be getting off our mobile phones, and they essentially are, in some ways, a bit of a lifeline, a bit of a comfort zone that we get used to. But the idea of this big ship being a metaphor, if you take this ship as being your life, and along you're going at a steady pace, and you think, right, okay, here I am doing my thing, things are okay, and I want to make a change. And along comes the change. In the analogy here, I'm saying this little pilot boat appears on the horizon. We'll call it the pilot boat of change. We'll be just coming along. It'll come alongside and it'll nudge the ship. And if you don't step onto it, it'll go away again. And again, it will pop in again. It's another time in the future. Bump, and away it would go. So your comfort zone is your life, the way I see it. And every so often you think, I want to do something. I want to change something. I want to get some peace. I want to get some something fixed in my life. And along comes this pilot boat of change, and it nudges alongside your boat, and you have the opportunity to step off and go off to the beach or go off and achieve something. Now, I'm not saying at any point here that routine is a bad thing. We do need routine in our lives, I think. But generally speaking, we can move on, and we can move on in this great big container ship. We can move forward at a very sedentary pace sometimes. And eventually, these boats will just stop coming. This opportunity will stop coming, and you'll just carry on. And we all know, I suppose a lot of us would know, in order to turn that ship around, then container ships take a long time to turn. And we should be working with these opportunities that come along. So the idea of this video is just to get in mind that we need to get off our mobile phones. We need to get away from the security of feeling that we are incapable of change, and step off. Use the disco leg a little bit. I've seen it in department stores as well. There's some people that are not very good with escalators, and you see them at the bottom of an escalator doing a bit of disco leg. It always makes me smile when I see it, just waiting for that moment. And I think sometimes you've just got to step across, and you've just got to take that plunge. As I say, routines, fantastic, I think, but if you want to make a change, if you want to make an adjustment, it's okay to step on the pilot boat and go off to your beach and get yourself a cocktail.